Happy New Year. So I wanted to share my process for visioning the new year. I think it's worked pretty well so far. There's like 4 different steps to it. So I'm just going to kind of share what I do in case it could inspire you in your goal setting process. I have been doing visioning for at least a decade, if not longer. I first started doing that when I was like choosing a word of the year, and I would have kind of like a main word or a guiding phrase for the year and a few other kind of feeling words that I'd want to kind of incorporate for the year. And I think I first heard about that from Danielle Laporte. She has a book called The Desire Map that really talks about like it's not the thing that you want, it's the way you want the thing to make you feel. The feeling that you want to feel is what you kind of get clear on, and then you start feeling that way. And then sort of all the things that make you feel that way kind of will come into your life. That's the thought process behind that. And it kind of goes both ways. So like if you feel that way, you'll attract more of that feeling. But also knowing how you want to feel, you can be more proactive to decide what things make you feel that way, and you can do more of that thing. So basically that's what I used to do with feeling words. I've also over the years kind of used Pinterest as my vision board, and I have a lot of pins on my Pinterest, but I also have like secret boards for different things because I feel like as a visual person, like visioning something that you want to create, whether that's a new art collection or a home or like your wardrobe and your style and how you want to eat and a recipe you want to make and sort of all the different creative ways that I live my life. I have a Pinterest board for that thing, and I regularly go on Pinterest and vision even more and add to those boards. And so just like seeing something is really magnetic to me, and as is like feeling words. So I would say that my process of visioning for the new year kind of combines vision boarding with feeling words, but with also some practical planning steps. And so that's what we're going to go over today. So basically the first thing I start doing when I want to start visioning for the year, I usually do this in the week between Christmas and New Year's. When I'm still kind of resting and enjoying the holiday vibes, I also like to start kind of thinking back on the year before and sort of thinking ahead to this coming year for 2025. And so I have a list on Notion, which I use as kind of like my brain dump for all my thoughts when I want to type things out. And I have a file for basically my 2023 goals, 2024, and now I created one for 2025. I went back over 2024 and I have all the different categories of my life listed. And underneath those categories, I have to-do list, a little check box for every little kind of specific goal I want to hit under those categories. Now, I've done this the last 2 years, and did I hit every single goal in every single category? Absolutely not. But what I did was check in with myself like once a month and look at them and be like, oh wait, I actually did cross this one off, or I did cross that one off. But it would also help remind me of my goals and intentions so that I could see if my life was on its way to supporting those goals, right? So I could kind of reassess where I was headed. I didn't often change the goals throughout the year, but there are some that I just didn't hit. And so at the end of the year, I kind of look at it and think, do I still have those goals? Are those goals still meaningful to me? I have different categories, and there's a handful of goals under each one, but the categories are like, you know, health and wellness, business, self-care, relationship, personal goals, parenting goals, different things like that. So you can basically think about what are the different categories of your life, the big like overarching life categories, and then kind of think about a handful of goals you'd like to hit underneath each of those. This is kind of like the practical side of goal setting. So the first step I did was take a look at last year and kind of start carrying over, made a new file for 2025 kept the categories the same and carried over a few that I wanted to still do, and then also realized some of them weren't as important. I don't have endless amounts of time and energy, and so this year I got a little more cutthroat with how many things were under each category. Because if there's like 7, 8, 9 things under one category, that feels overwhelming. So I'd rather have like 3. You know, if I hit all 3, then maybe I can add some more. But I tried to make it a lot more simplified this year. So that was kind of the first thing I did, was kind of carry that over and add the things that are still important to me right now. And that's the practical side of goal setting. So then I kind of took a pause on that, and then I went to my vision boarding, which I have a file that I use on Canva. I've made these the last couple of years, and it's just sort of like a picture collage, and then there's like different words. And so I will go on Pinterest and I will save a lot of pictures to my desktop of images that are just inspiring me. And I'll save some of them also to my Pinterest boards. And this kind of takes like almost like a week to do, because I don't want to do it all in one day and have it not be right. So I just start kind of gathering the images, and it's like I'm gathering the feeling that goes along with that. What I'm trying to do is kind of have the aesthetic match the feelings that I want to have. So I'm saving pictures that just feel the way that I want to feel, but that also kind of look the way that I want it to look, right? So it has to kind of match up, because it's like a whole aesthetic and feeling that I'm trying to create for my new year. I also do this kind of seasonally. I do this, you know, throughout like the literal seasons. When I'm like coming into my summer and I want my summer to like look and feel a certain way, I'll make a vision board for the summer. Or for the fall, I made one last year for my art business or for a new collection. I do this more than once a year, but like the annual vision board is kind of like the main one. So this is kind of how it looks. I don't know if you can see that. But there's basically just a bunch of different images, and then there's different words. And in my mind, these kind of go across a few different categories. And then the main picture in the middle is kind of like how I want to feel like overall, and what my overall word is for the year. But the other words and images are also important. So I have like one image that kind of speaks to my art business and a word associated with that. I have one for my hobby. I really want to read a lot more this year. So I have a picture of somebody sitting at a coffee shop reading with like the book right in front of their face. For example, the word I use for that is enthralled. Like I just want to be enthralled in reading and soaking up life's little pleasures, like watching good films and good shows and stuff like that, instead of like just scrolling my phone, for example. And then I have like a quote here that says, "You know it's the right decision when it gives you energy." And then under that quote, I have the word aligned. And then I have like a picture of a woman like on a beach and joy. I have like a relationship picture and word, and style word, how I want to feel in my home and my kitchen, how I want to feel with like friends and extended family and my kids and money, and sort of like all these different categories that are here, but they're in like a visual image and a word associated with that. And I just, you know, I kind of play with it over like I said, like a week, and I add different pictures in, and then I let a day go by, and then I come back and get some more photos, put those in. I change the words up until like kind of like when I'm painting. I keep changing, adding and subtracting until I'm like, that's it, it's done. Like I know it's done. And I'll even give it like 24 hours and come back and be like, yes, it's done. So that's what I did with this. So the vision, it's kind of like all these different things are guiding my life. So the vision and the feelings words are guiding my life for the new year. And then I can open back up that Notion template of my 2025 goals. And that's where I have like it written down more as a to-do list. So this is more the feeling and the vibe. The other thing is more action oriented. Like, okay, great. You say that you want to, be enthralled, and there's this vision of this woman like in a coffee shop reading and stuff. So under your personal goals, like what are the actual goals? So for example, mine says read one fiction book per month. And then I put also one nonfiction book per month. That's something I'm trying on. I don't know if I necessarily want to read one nonfiction book a month. I definitely want to read the fiction, but that's just an example. Or I started I want to watch more movies and shows rather than scroll my phone. So I started a little document of all the movies that I've watched so far this year. I've watched 3 movies, and I just want to keep kind of track of that. I also have a little reading journal, and then I have a film and TV journal. So I think I might even keep track of it in those journals, because I want to kind of get away from having everything be online all the time. But so yeah, so then it's looking at does the vision and the feeling match the actual goals that you have written down specifically under the Notion categories? Because I think it's important to be specific. If I just put read more, okay, that's kind of just like a general goal. So when it comes to sort of achieving goals or manifesting, if you want to call it, being really specific about what you want is very important. And it just gives you the guidance that you need to know whether or not it has to be a measurable goal. So that's part of it too. So then as that week, as I was gathering the images and the feeling words and kind of updating my goal checklist for 2025, I also created another Notion document that is basically, it was just my brain dump. And I was just kind of having so many different thoughts, feelings, plans, ideas, which I tend to. Just as a creative, I feel like I just have a million ideas constantly. And so rather than, get an idea and then just act on it, I keep huge documents full of all these ideas, thoughts, plans that I would like to do. And so I just allowed myself that week to just brain dump and type and type and type of all the different ideas that I was having as I was doing this visioning process. And so then now that I have the vision board done, I have the feeling words, I have the goal checklist in the different categories. And so now that I also have ideas upon ideas, now it was easy for me to then plan out January specifically. I am not, it might sound like I'm a super planner, but I'm actually not that great with calendars and planners. And so I tend to just buy a bunch of them, and ultimately I just write down what I need to do in my notes app. But in this case, this is kind of where I'm going with this. So I bought this calendar just for basically art business goals, content calendar creation, things like that. And so what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to look at my ideas, and I'm going to say, okay, now let me take those ideas and put them specifically on the calendar. For example, I'm just going to take it kind of month to month, right? Each week in January, here's the 4 videos that I'm going to film this month and put one out once a week. And I'm going to get back to starting to paint. And I'm going to start a blog series where I choose one guiding word per month, and I write about that on my blog. And so those are kind of my rough goals for January, right? So the blog series, get back to painting, and film and put out 4 videos. So that's what this will take the vision and the feeling words and the big 2025 goal checklist and the ideas and kind of take it all and say, okay, but how am I actually going to do that? And this will show how I will do that. And then I also just picked this up the other day because it's super cute and strawberries, but also it's really good for laying flat, and it's big, so I can write a lot down on it. So I also want to get into just writing more on paper. This is kind of going to be my book of ideas on paper. So I have that. And then I also started this last year, but this is my journal where I kind of do junk journaling, which is like a trend now, but basically like I just kind of open it up and I just write like whatever's on my mind. This was for summer. There's different stickers here and just little drawings. Like it's just like a fun little way to express yourself. So I do want to continue doing that as well. And I also got a little caboodle type thing that I filled with different kinds of stickers, which is fun to kind of keep the visioning alive, not just on the computer, but like in physical form. I also got a lot of little fun decorative papers that I can put in my journal. And then something that I haven't really done much is art journaling. So I also got an art journal and some watercolors, so I can just kind of do that as well. So basically, I feel like combining all of these different methods has become a really good system for me, and I'm excited to not only be super clear on kind of like what my aesthetic is and what my feelings are, and then I've got the checklist for like these are specifically the things that I want to happen, and basically those things are kind of big goals, right? So taking those big goals down to, okay, cool, let me look at that once a month and say, what am I actually going to put on the calendar from those big goals? So I'm going to write down, you know, what book am I going to be reading? I might even write down, like, let's say in my journal or my bigger journal, what my TBR is for reading this year. Actually, even better, I'll use my reading journal. So if reading is my goal, okay, great, that's like a big goal. Let me write down the book I'm reading, like in my reading journal, right? So it takes like the vision and the feeling and the big, huge goals, mixes it with the ideas, and then actually now I have a place to put those, whether it's my normal journal, my planner, my reading journal, if I'm going to explore something in my art journal, like I have the practical tools to take those visions into reality. So that's basically my process for how I vision and set goals for the new year, and have the accountability to check in with myself once a month and actually put those things on the calendar and make them a priority. This has taken the last few years to really kind of get a groove with this, but I do think it's a good process to use, and I look forward to being consistent and seeing these goals come to fruition this year. And I hope this process was helpful to you in some way, and share with me down below any tips and tricks that you have about visioning for your new year, or if you use this process, I'd love to hear about it. So thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.